I have the pleasure and honor of introducing Samantha Steer this morning on our show. I am so excited to have her with us. Samantha is a financial advisor. She is also the CFO of Vesta, which is a company that focuses on helping people navigate their way through divorce. I know she has a heart and a passion for serving women and helping them to make informed decisions in their lives. Samantha, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Carrie. Thanks for having me. So great to be here.
Absolutely. Well, discovering W.I.S.E, Women in Search of Excellence, our mission is about encouraging, inspiring, and helping to support women throughout their lives and their careers and all that it is that they're doing. And so we're just honored to have you with us together to talk a little bit about what your mission is and how it is you're impacting women and just some about your life and your path, right? So tell us a little bit, Samantha, about your current mission.
Sure. So really, if I was to try to categorize the overarching mission of where I currently operate in all those different capacities that Carrie just mentioned, really that I want to be empowering women to make financially informed decisions in their life. And I've been doing that, in the finance field for quite some time, but helping people feel really good about those decisions that they make. And especially in a situation like divorce, when so much is changing, there's a lot that needs to happen. And the finances can often cause a big part of that stress and anxiety that I want people to feel confident and secure with.
Well, absolutely. There's a whole lot wrapped up in finance, isn't there? So when you think about your mission and how and or your life and how excellence has played a part in that, what does excellence mean to you?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is really doing the best that you know how to do, and continuing to learn and grow in that way that you can continue to have that statement be true. I think part of that is also knowing what you don't know so that you can allow yourself to continue to grow into greater and greater excellence.
Right. Always learning, always growing. I always say, I sure hope that I'm learning until my days are done, right? Yeah. Because there's always something more to learn. That's excellent. When you think about this mission of serving women and helping to empower them, how do you measure how you're doing?
Great. Yeah. I feel part of it is that feeling, putting your head on the pillow every night, that you had that, and it's not every day that you feel that you've drastically affected, hundreds of people's lives. Right. But at the end of the day, that good feeling, I think is the biggest piece of it. And with that mission, I think my biggest part of it is to impact as many women as possible, over my legacy. Sure. and continue to grow the ways that I can help reach those people with those resources, so that at the end of the day, there are those ripple effects, the ripples of one person I touch many others, because as people, and women especially, we can only do so much in one day. So.
Right. I am aware of that feeling of trying to do a little bit more than is humanly possible in that one day. But I love that statement of when your head hits the pillow at night, it's like knowing you did worthwhile work, right? So in terms of your guiding principles or mantras, or, maybe a favorite quote or affirmation, is there something that really drives you on a daily basis that it's your go-to?
Sure. I think there would be two that I would share. One of which I have as the screensaver on my phone. Okay. So I think the going to it daily is much more than daily, as we know how many times we check our phone. But I've probably had it for at least a year or two now. That as a grounding place for myself and it really says to feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yes.
And I think that's part of that excellence piece earlier, is to persevere through those times where you hit the pillow and you don't feel like you impacted as much as you could have or should have, or all those, supposed to. And that those ripples are still there happening around you. The other one that I love is the universe only gives us what we're strong enough to handle. And apparently she thinks I'm badass.
That's great. I love it. Well, you know what? I truly believe that we are called to things greater at all times. We're called to something greater than we feel capable of doing. And so I think those two tie together so well, right? I feel like there's a whole lot that I'm supposed to be doing right now. I'm not sure that I'm capable of it, but you know what? I'm going to stand in the face of that fear and do it anyway because I feel called to doing it. That's awesome. When you think about your day, I talk to a lot of top performers, successful people, and without fail, as I'm talking to them, they tell me things about their days, their weeks, their months, their years that are non-negotiables for them, that every day they do these things, whether they feel like doing them or not. What are some of those things for you, Samantha?
It's interesting. I think about that question, and I think about a lot of the I guess the word that comes to mind is the tangible things people do. Yes. And those lists that you can Google about what leaders do to, be most successful in that day, and the top 5 things and all those pieces. And I oftentimes look at those and say, I don't do any of those. Sometimes I feel like I'm judging myself because I don't do those things. Like, I know one that I strive to try to do sometimes is meditation. And I know for a lot of people, that's a really healthy practice. So in thinking about that question, for me, my answers are, I say simple, but they're really not in a lot of ways. Simple in the context of, for me, it's sleep and water. If I don't get my sleep, you don't want to be in communication with me. It's worse than hangry. And
right.
And I consistently every day, it's like 7 to 8 hours every night, no matter what. And if I don't get it, then I have to find, I know you can't really catch up on sleep, but I have to find some way to get back in that cycle. And that and hydration. I know that my whole,
I've got the water jug here with my markers on it. I understand that.
We actually, about a year ago, started drinking this water that's magnetized.
Okay.
And so that it has even, don't quote me on how it all works, but the filtration of how it all works, and it better processes in your system, and it actually makes it so you don't get up during the night to use the restroom because the way it goes through your system. So really fascinating. But anyway, those would be my two, would be sleep and water.
I heard you sort of minimize those things like, hey, they're not these big non-negotiables that are on these lists that leaders do. But the fact of the matter is those simple, fundamental, basic things. Absent sleep, by the way, all of us need it. And there is an epidemic in our world around people not getting good sleep. And it's factual that you don't perform at your best without it. And hydration, same thing, right? So those are actually two, you say simple and it's like, great. I'm glad that that's something that you feel is simple. It's actually not so simple for a lot of people. So those habits are excellent to have as non-negotiables in your day. And they make you perform at your best, right? So
sure, I feel blessed with that. Yeah. And my husband says how envious he is of my sleeping. So
there's proof right there, right? So in terms of mindset, right? Again, everybody's got kind of their own way about going about things. I love that you brought up meditation. That's part of my morning practice that I know establishes me well in my day. Is there a message that you would want to share with women around mindset for you?
The biggest one that comes to mind for me is really to trust your gut. And I feel that I was actually sharing a story in my women's group the other day. And after telling the story, that it wasn't apparent to me that this was how I was sharing it. And she said, the way that the way you lived through that experience was with so much confidence. And I said, I never saw it that way. I saw it as like a survival piece of that story of I had to make a decision and trust my gut in that moment. And I didn't have another choice. And she said, no, that's a level of confidence in how you move through that situation. And I thought that was such an interesting way to take those two and marry them in the context of knowing that and having that intuition and knowing yourself, and that every moment of your day, whether it's what you're putting in your mouth or what you're doing in your career or how you're treating another person, it's like what that intuition, that gut feeling.
So a mindset of discernment and trusting yourself, trusting your own intuition. That's great. Talk to us a little bit about your why, this mission that you have and what you're after. Do you remember a particular incident or a time, like an aha, when you were like, yes, this is it? Or what did that look like?
Sure. I don't feel that I had an exact aha moment. I definitely feel that the layers grew over time. However, for me, I have known I've wanted to be in finance since I was very young.
Yes.
And my mother tells me stories of times I don't even remember when I would be counting coins and sorting things. I was 6 months old, ripping tissues in half and doing fractions, as she said. Just that most parents would freak out that the kid has a box of tissues and you were there doing division with them. And it's like eight to just be tearing them in half. And anyway, so that's kind of the further back years. And then really coming into the divorce piece in particular, my parents divorced when I was 3, and my entire life, over 85-90% of my family have all been divorced. So I've constantly been surrounded by it. Probably one of the connecting moments or periods of time for me to take that finance and marry it with the divorce piece was when I partnered up with my 2 partners in Vesta, and that side of my world, and they had both been through divorces themselves. And so it was an opportunity for me to say, this is really a group of individuals that I can connect with on multiple levels. I haven't been through it as a spouse, but having been through it as a child and having really my entire life defined as being defined by divorce, as drastically. I mean, I look at it and say, I'm so thankful my parents got divorced, because I wouldn't be doing this work, I don't think. And even if I was, I wouldn't be able to connect with the people at the same level. So I think that journey for me has been really fascinating to watch evolve.
That's fantastic. So I think that that's something that a lot of people are looking for, like this microwave situation or the new Instant Pot, right? I'm going to Instant Pot my why. Like, I just need to go sit down for 2 hours and all of a sudden it's going to come to me. And for most of us, it is a journey. It starts somewhere and then along the way it builds. So it's beautiful that your whole life's experience has brought you to where you are today. Is there anybody in particular? I mean, you mentioned your parents and some of your other family members, but is there anybody else in particular who's influenced or inspired you along the way?
It's another one of those, again, and I share this because I oftentimes feel myself feeling that there has to be this aspiration for something, a better answer, because you commented earlier on the kind of dumbing down of the water and sleep thing, and how I felt, it's simple but not for so many. And I would say the same somewhat applies here for me, is that I've felt like, oh, who is this leader in the world that I can aspire to? And it for me, I'm really lucky and thankful to have that be my mother. She raised my sister and I since we were 1 and 3. And as a ceramic teacher, making pottery day and night, she put us through school, and we were 3 peas in a pod. My father had left the picture for quite some time and fortunately came back in later on. But she did it all day, every day. And she said that it was the blessing of being the mother and the father and the provider and and the friend, and on all those layers. And I think, I actually not just think, I know a lot of my entrepreneurial spirit comes from her. I went to school for entrepreneurship and finance, and I know that came through seeing her problem solve every single day, how to take clay and turn it into food on the table, take mud and turn it into money, pretty much.
That's turning mud into money. I love it. She sounds like an incredible, inspiring woman. That's absolutely awesome when we can connect those things to our parents. Along the way, have there been any roadblocks for you?
Yes. The biggest one coming into finance, not biggest one, actually, one of them, coming into finance as a young woman, definitely had its roadblocks, being in office with, still in today's world, very male dominated, led to a lot of tough moments, I guess, and figuring out kind of where I fit and how I fit, but also how to pave my own path. And move through that in a different way. I think the other part of that in the financial realm, but also just in my career, is that I have grown to love my age, but haven't always. And being relatively younger in the financial world, but also leading this business. I mean, we have a variety of staff, and many of them are 20, 30 years older than me. And navigating those dynamics has been an incredible learning experience, actually. So even though it's been a roadblock in moments, overall, it's really helped me grow as a leader and a person. And that's been really, really exciting. So
obviously, you and I've had former conversations briefly about that. I can connect with that a little bit. If you were talking to somebody who is on the front end of that, or they're finding themselves in the middle of that obstacle, and they're challenged with not only being a woman in a male-dominated field or what have you, but also just being younger and having reports or others who are senior to them in age. Can you think of anything specific where you're like, this is what I had to do in order to overcome that?
One of them, specific to my age, was I had to hit the point where actually somebody else called me out on it, in the context of like, why are you so ashamed to share how old you are? And it helps me pause and say, yeah, why? Like, why is there so much? I don't know exactly if shame is the word, but that's what the feeling kind of was, that like I shouldn't, or I was embarrassed, or I didn't want people to think less of me because they had this feeling, and then I didn't want that to be brought down by them knowing my age. And it was a turning point where I said, no, I'm going to lead with that, and it's really shifted ever since that point. So if there's somebody that does that for you, lovely, but don't wait for that. Do that for yourself.
Well, it could be you, Samantha. Exactly. It could be you saying this today, right? That message of, you know what, let's flip that. Let's turn that around. And instead of being brought down by your age or feeling insecure as a result of it because I'm afraid somebody's going to think less than, how about let's turn that around and say, how magnificent is it that you have achieved at the level that you have at your age? Own it, sister, right?
Exactly. And I feel really blessed. I mean, that was probably 2 years ago that transition started to happen for me. And to be 28 now and have that confidence piece, I feel very blessed. Because I know people that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s getting to those feelings. And I feel really lucky that I had that little push that I needed to feel even more confident in these next years for everybody involved in my life, but mostly for me.
100%. Well, we all need those that give us those little pushes. Sometimes for me, they've been a little bit bigger than a little push, but you know what? It's good.
I actually the other piece I was going to add to that is about in the financial field in particular, really though, the way that I was able to overcome that is by asking a lot of questions. I felt that by learning and asking the questions when I didn't know and feeling confident asking the questions meant I could learn and I could be my own version of what the answer was, right? If that's the answer, I take that and then do how I think is best with my clients. But I had the knowledge to then share by asking those questions. And I think the biggest thing is to not be afraid to ask those questions.
I love that. Just did a post this morning on you've got to ask for help, right? I mean, we just do. There's this stigma around like, oh, I can't ask. No, absolutely. Ask. How are you going to learn otherwise, right? That's fantastic. So if you think about lessons learned, right? Because, well, there, you just shared one, right? But are there any other lessons that you think of that stand out that you've accumulated on your path to living out this why?
We actually referenced it earlier, the always be learning piece. I'm not a reader. I learn from other people, and I learn from in real hands-on, tangible interaction and the people side of things. And that to me, I mean, I was actually thinking the other day. I said, if I had all the time in the world, I would just have a conversation with every possible person I could. I'm part of a women's group that's national, has I think over 3,500 members, and I said I would be every other hour of the day in conversation with those women and learning what they do and understanding how they operate and how incredibly I can grow as a person by being able to do that. And I think that's a big piece of it. But also what we were just commenting on earlier is just to be you, be proud of you, whatever that is. There's so many pieces of our aspects of our life that we can, not feel proud of or confident in, and to just accept that and not worry so much about what others think and the judgment and those things that bog us down at any given moment of the day.
Love that. Don't hang on to what other people are saying or thinking or doing. Just be you, which are excellent words of encouragement. Samantha, is there anything that we haven't covered that you feel like would be really important for those who are listening to hear from you?
I think when it comes to, again, any area of your life that you're looking to feel or just improve or feel that you feel more confident, I'm butchering the sentence.
That's okay.
Feel more sure of any area of your life you want to feel more sure of. I'd say to find your passion in that and then follow it and don't give up. Because if finding it is definitely a piece, and following it is sometimes the hardest part, but the giving up piece is where you can get 90%. And if you give up, then it's never going to happen. And you absolutely can make that last, whatever it is, 5, 10, 25% or more. That's where the real growth can happen, personally or professionally.
Don't give up. Just keep going. Awesome wisdom there. How can we help you on your current mission?
When it comes to the multiple areas of my life, I really feel that Vesta as a divorce resource for people is something that people should be aware of. We now have locations on the East Coast, about 6 of them in the Boston area, and about 8 of them in Southern California. And Vesta is going to be a household name in the next few years. But definitely for any of you listening in to share the message about Vesta to people that are affected by divorce in any way, considering it, in the midst of it, at the tail end, or years post-divorce. There are so many resources people need to make informed decisions at any point in that process. Financial being a big one, but co-parenting with a former spouse, or understanding the legal aspects, knowing what to do with your real estate and what your housing options are. There's a lot of categories there that people don't have to feel alone in that process. And then for professionals that have interest in a niche and working with people going through divorce, same thing, that they could connect with an incredible organization of other like-minded professionals to feel that they found their tribe to help people through this process.
That's fantastic. So where can they connect with Vesta and you?
Thank you. So Vesta was vestadivorce.com. There's the events that are there, the professionals are there, and then if you're an interested professional, there's a tab for that as well. And the best way to reach me would be SSteer at vestadivorce.com, and happy to share any further knowledge and experience with any of you as you continue on your journeys.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Samantha. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.